let's start a new batch. All right, we've got another batch started. So now we've got, you can ignore the labels on the drums, but we've got stage 5 in here, stage 1 again on these two, stage 2 going on these two here. The stage we just started for stage 1 is about, each barrel's about maybe ½ pound overweight, but I like to think of them as a dump truck. You want to get your money's worth, so you're going to put a little bit extra in that truck and hope that they don't run into a scale. Obviously here we do have a scale, but we're not worried about anything overweight. I will check on them just to make sure that they're not getting too wonky squonky and warbly on us. But these are the two oldest tumblers that I've got. This red one is really old, so if it decides that it wants to crap out on us, I definitely got my money's worth out of it, so we'll just replace it. Won't be a big deal, but we'll come back next week and check out how they look. So far, so good. Alright, we're back again to look at the results after stage 1. In this batch, we've got some bigger rocks. It's mostly these bigger rocks, you know, petrified wood and agates and stuff like that that are bigger sized. But let's see what we've got here. These are 3 chunks of petrified wood, and they're looking pretty decent after stage 1. I feel really smooth, more smooth than you normally see after just the first stage, which I guess is a good thing. I'm not going to complain about that at all. Hoping these ones turn out real nice. So far they're looking pretty good. This one is really neat. It's super flat. Some of these petrified woods are easier to tell than others, and I'm hoping, like, I mean, this one obviously you can really easily see the wood grain. This one's a little bit more difficult. You can see some there. Hopefully the polish will kind of show more of that as we go along. And then just some bigger agates here. Got a big dent in it. And this one's got a big crack in it that's healed up, thankfully. Hopefully that holds together. Usually these big ones don't have any issues unless they're really busted up. But I haven't had too many issues with not just agates, but petrified wood or jasper or tumbling, any kind of a bigger size. I think they mostly just beat up on some of the smaller rocks. This one here, you can see some iron coloring down here by my thumb, and some up top here. Might see if I can fish some of those rocks out of there, but there is some crystal in there, so I don't want to break any of that off. I mean, you can see the banding and on this side really well too, and that looks cool. Stuff like this, that might chip off, but you're not really losing a whole lot of mass with that. Not too worried about chunks like that on the edges. This one too, you can see has been cracked a couple different times and healed up. And the difference in color. That crack goes all the way around. Huh. Now something like that, I might be worried about it breaking off. Like if you drop this on the ground, it would probably bust up right here. But hopefully the gentle tumbling action will prevent that from happening. And this one's got a bunch of little epimorphs on it. They almost, from far away, they almost look like little bird prints. Bird footprints, but so far so good. And this is a big chunky one. I think this one, I mean, it was for sure bigger at one point and broke. But it looks pretty good. Nice even polish all the way around. This one here is real cool. It looks just like an egg. I mean, you look at it like this, it's like, oh, there's a little egg right there. Flip it around and broke it open, and it's like it's got the white and the yolk in there, and that's all crystal. Hopefully that doesn't get polished off and it sticks around, pokes out more as it goes through the stages. But that's another really neat one. It would have been interesting to see if, you know, the size of this rock originally, because it obviously broke on this side. Couple others. This one has a big deep pocket right there where my finger's at. Got a bunch of, you can see in the light there, a bunch of little rocks that are trapped in it. Whenever this rock formed, it formed around a bunch of other little rocks, or had some sprinkled in it before it actually cooled off and solidified. It's just wild how that works out. A little bit of iron coloring right there. Here's another one. Crystal banding around the three side. Well, shoot, it goes almost all the way around. One little chunk right there in the middle that's kind of blocking it off. We had one that was like that in our last batch, or the batch before the last one, that had a little island on top that busted off. So hopefully this one will stay intact. But yeah, as for the rest of them, all looking really good, just about the same. Here's another one with some nice crystal in it. Everything looking really good. Super happy with the results. We'll get them put into stage 2 and check back in another week, see what they look like. All right, we're back again after stage 2, and we'll have a look at what they're looking like now. So far, so good. We got some bigger ones in this batch. I think on these earlier stages, we'll just highlight a few of them quickly here. Like some of these big chunky ones in the back. I really think this one is cool. It's a nice chunk. I ended up cutting quite a few chunks of rocks about this thick, maybe a little bit thinner, maybe closer to this thickness here. Just purposefully so that I could tumble some instead of polishing them with the drill press, because I like the bigger rocks. The small ones are really nice, and you usually can get kind of a better, I guess, finished product out of them. But the bigger ones I just like a lot more. And so this thickness is something that I think is just a really good size. And this one here, maybe the grit's not quite getting in this cavity down here, but I think we'll be okay. Hopefully these wider pieces don't flake off. But this is a pretty good sized rock. And those aren't very large flakes, so we won't be losing too terribly much. Another one here. See the light coming through it pretty nicely. More chunks that might flake off. But so far looking really decent. Some petrified wood. This one I'm really pleased with. It looks like it's got some white grit trapped in that little crack right there, but it hasn't gotten that far in the process yet, so I'm not really sure what that's all about. Looking really good. This is one that I really seriously thought about cutting just right down the middle and have two nice kind of long chunks, which, who knows, maybe after it gets polished nice and evenly all the way around, we might do that. That's something that I've kind of been wanting to mess around with a little bit. Although it's a little thin on this side, maybe cut it this way in the middle here. We'll see. And this is another one I was thinking about after it gets polished all the way around, maybe cutting little slices off here and there. But it's looking really decent. Maybe in the future we'll do a video about cutting rocks that have already been polished, because that would be, some of the rough cut stuff along the edges is neat, but I do like having a totally polished rock all the way around. This rock here I'm a little worried about. You can see like this chunk wants to break off. This crystal, this druzy in the middle here, is not super strong. And if you remember from one of the previous batches, we did kind of have an issue with druzy breakage, or pieces that were pretty close to these druzy pockets breaking off. And this one's got a lot of cracks in it. Hopefully it holds up. We'll see what it looks like by the end of next week, and we might reevaluate then. Here's one that looks like it got cut. It's nice and smooth. Got a few cracks in it. But this druzy pocket here hopefully will shine up really nicely. And here's our one that looks kind of like an egg. Thankfully it hasn't lost a lot of its color. Still got that iron color in there. Hopefully that'll stick around. Got druzy right in the middle here. That's looking pretty good. Happy with that. This one's got a few chunks that look like they're about ready to come off. A lot of little cavities on this one. This is the one that looks like it's got all the little bird footprints on it. But the smooth surfaces feel nice and polished, so that's good. And again, this one's got some white stuff in there too. Maybe the barrels aren't getting cleaned out quite as well as they should be. Here's another one with kind of a druzy ring around the good majority of it. It seems to be holding on well. It's got a big crack right here though. It looks like it does maybe want to just about go all the way around, so hopefully it'll hold on. But if it doesn't, then we'd have two cool rocks. But it feels nice and smooth. The transition from agate to druzy and back into agate right here feels really smooth. You can't feel any ridges or anything, so that's good. I think our last one I want to look at, which I don't remember if I highlighted last week, is this pink one. I don't know how well that shows up on camera, but it's really, really pink. It's kind of neat. I've had a couple of these in the past that turned out really nicely too, but for some reason, however the pink ones are made, it seems like they lose more mass than some of the others do. So hopefully that was just a fluke thing and I'm incorrect on that, and this one stays pretty close to the same size, because this is a nice size. But I think that's it for these for this week. We'll get them tossed back in the barrels for stage 3, and we'll come back and check in next week. Little snafu, the camera overheated, but we got stage 2 now going into stage 3. Again, we'll come back next week and check them out. Alrighty, we're back again to check out the results after stage 3. Let's get these checked out. I don't think we'll look at every single one of these, but we'll just highlight a few of them. So far, so good. Looking pretty decent. There's still a lot of roughness kind of in this cavity here. But, you know, you can see there's definitely a nice shine kind of starting to get around. No chunks have broken off yet, which is good. We like to see that. Same thing with this one. I think my hands might have been just a little bit wet. But we've got nice polish just about all the way around. And it's a bummer that this one's got so many little cavities on it. Otherwise it'd be almost a perfect rock, but I mean it's still really nice and flat, especially for not going on the saw. But it's looking pretty good. Here's some petrified wood. And these three I think are really neat to kind of look at all together, because you can really get a good idea of how different a lot of these petrified woods are. It'd be interesting. I don't know if there's a way to identify like what species of tree these came off of whenever they came off of it, but that sure would be neat to find out what kind of wood they actually are. And they're all looking really good. Once these are finished up, we'll have to compare them to some other pieces of petrified wood that I've polished and see how well we did. These are looking better this week. Last week, some things were kind of dirty, but so far these are looking a little bit more clean. This cavity in here, I think last week had a little bit of junk in it that I was kind of a little nervous to take out of there, just because there's some crystal in there and I don't want to break it off. But again, I haven't lost any mass. Well, not too much anyway. We haven't had any big chunks flake off like that guy there or anything. And this is the one that's got the crack that goes, or one of the ones that has a crack that goes just about all the way around, and it's got several cracks in it that have healed, but these flakes here are still holding on good too, so hopefully they'll stick around till the end. And this one looks like it's got all the little bird footprints on it. It's looking pretty good. I don't remember seeing this chunk right here. It looks like it might want to pop off, but hopefully it'll stick around, and those indentations in there are actually seem like they're getting a pretty decent polish on them, and if not, they were already really smooth to begin with, because they're catching a lot of the light, which is pretty cool. So that one's looking good. Happy about that. Here's a couple more that have some druzy going on. It really seems to lose a lot of its, actual kind of crystal looking property. It's not quite as bumpy. It's all smoothed out, which is to be expected. This is the one that looked kind of like an egg. You can break it open and you've got the Cadbury cream inside. And this one's got kind of the band, the layer in the middle going all the way around. It's got a big crack in it too. Thankfully it hasn't broke off. Looking pretty good, and you can really start to see all these little white spots in here. Those are stuff that's actually inside the rock, which is really interesting. But so far it's holding together pretty well. That's good. That's a nice looking rock. Here's a saw rock. I'm not 100% sure what kind of rock this one is, but this is sort of just a excuse me, a test to see what might happen with something like this, and it's held together so far too, so that's good. This one, I don't remember it being quite so translucent before. When I pulled it out, I actually washed these off yesterday and let them dry overnight. Normally I don't do that. Normally I'll do everything kind of all at once. I'll let them dry for an hour or two and then I'll put them back in the tumblers. But my next door neighbor or neighbors are a couple that are in their 80s, and so the husband hollered at me and ended up helping him do stuff for about 3 or 4 hours, which was good. Yesterday was probably the last day for the next couple weeks that we're going to have a good weather. It's calling for rain in my area, pretty much solid. Right now it's not really raining, but it's definitely cloudy, and it did rain pretty good overnight, and it's supposed to rain pretty good the rest of the day. So that was nice to help him out, and plus it gives me something fun and productive to do inside on a nasty day. But anyways, back to this rock. I didn't realize how translucent it was beforehand. And it's got this nice little crystal cove in here, and overall it's looking really good. A few little dents in it, but nice even polish all the way around. This one's going to turn out really cool. Here's another one with a little crystal cove. And this one already had a naturally flat bottom on it. I don't think I cut this one. Well, I don't know. That sure is flat. I can't remember. I might have to go back and watch some of the old videos. But I'm pretty sure I did not cut this one. Here's another one. It looks like it was cut, but it wasn't, at least not by me anyway. And this is strange. You can almost see different layers. Like there's I don't know how well you can see that on camera, but certainly a very noticeable difference in this chunk here and this area here. But it's got a nice druzy chunk in the middle of it here too that looks really cool. And our last one will be this little guy here. It's a nice pink agate. I know I talked about this one last week. These are some of my favorites to find. These really look like a starburst, like a strawberry starburst or something, especially when they're all the way done polished. But we'll see what this looks like after stage 4. I might leave it at stage 4 just so it doesn't get any smaller, because it is losing a good amount of mass, and especially with, you know, some of these bigger rocks kind of beating on it. It's they're kind of prone to doing that. So we'll see what it looks like. Here's what the rest of them look like. Like I said, pretty happy with how everything's looking, and we'll come back next week after we get them thrown in their barrels and tumble them for stage 4, and we'll check in later. All right, we are here and ready to check out our rocks after stage 4. They're looking pretty good, so I'm pretty pleased with the results. There's a few just looking preliminarily at them that I thought were pretty neat. This one in particular, it's starting to show almost some crystalline structuring around the edge. And this one is also the ones where you can see all that dirty gunk on the inside. Almost like streaks going through there. And they lead to little holes, and it's almost like hair follicles. If you could just get a good hold on one of those, you could pluck the whole thing out. But I thought that was really interesting. A couple of these others, these bigger ones, looking pretty decent. It doesn't look like this one's lost too many chips, unless they kind of fell off and got totally ground up into dust, because I didn't find any big chunks in the media after I pulled the media out. It's looking pretty good though. Maybe some right around the edges on here might be flaking off. And then this whole pocket in here really hasn't gotten too much of the polish. Well, I guess it has a little bit, not a whole lot. I don't know, if a guy really wanted to, I guess you could take a Dremel and kind of gouge some of that out to make it a little more flat, but I think that would be a lot of work. And it adds character to the rock to have it in there, so we might just leave it. Here's our real flat one. Uh-oh, looks like we got a little hanger on in there. Let's see if we can't fish that guy out. There we go. Look at just like that. It's looking good. Everything except for the little bumps and dents and stuff on it. It's getting a really nice polish. That's kind of cool. See it glowing like that. Very nice. Turning out pretty good. Our 3 petrified woods. Hopefully this one will take a polish, like an actual glossy polish. Sometimes, and I've said it before, you get some petrified wood that's really glossy polished and some that just end up kind of matte polished. And so hopefully this one will get glossy, but either way, I mean, it feels really smooth, so nice and even all the way around. And sometimes you have rocks that will have a glossy polish on one side and then you flip it over and it's all matte polished. So just kind of depends. But this one, same thing. It's got a little bit more gloss to it than that last one. But nice and even all the way around. And this one too, just nice and even all around it. Hopefully this one will gloss polish, because it's really cool. I have another 1 or 2 chunks of petrified wood that look similar to this with the coloring and some of the grain and patterns and things like that, and they turned out really, really nicely polished. So hopefully this one will work out like that. A couple more here. Doesn't look like we've lost any crystal in our pocket there. We still holding on to that bit on the end. And these, doesn't look like too much has come off. Definitely wearing down a little bit, but not too terribly bad. And same thing on this end. Looks like a little bit's come off. But again, I didn't find hardly anything in the colander after I polished it off. We'll be right back. And here's our bird footprint agate. It's got some, it looks like there's a big chunk right here that wants to come off. I don't remember if we went over that earlier or not, but it's still holding on. And you can really see some of the cracks. And you can see kind of some of the coloring coming through the cracks. A little bit. Kind of can see it. Maybe you hold it up into the sun. Oh, that's way better. But it's looking pretty good. Everything's nice and evenly polished all the way around. Looks like the grit's doing its job. Not really getting into our divots on here, but that's okay. They seem to be pretty smooth already, so I wonder if whatever made these dents, if it was cool, or if this rock was still cooling off and it was hot, or if there was something else in here that ended up falling out later on. Or maybe this rock got reheated and whatever made the dents melts at a lower temperature. I don't know. Either way, it's looking good. And this one I mentioned earlier too. I didn't notice the really neat coloring on it. And with how it's looking, this one might be one that we cut after it gets polished, because it's really neat. I don't know though. I don't see very many river rock agates in my area that look like this. And I think that's really cool. See the coloring and the banding in there, little crystal cove. But that one's turning out really nice as well. A couple of these guys. Crystal pocket there. And then our egg. And it seems to be getting more clear. The clear parts seem to be getting more clear anyway. But you still have the iron speckling in there, which is good. I like that. And the clear part used to be more of a yellow or an orange. But that iron coloring is sticking around, which I'm happy about. Got a Cadbury filling in the middle. Looking pretty good. And then this one too. That is so strange that this top layer, more of it's come off since the last time. That is really weird. And a lot of it's come off this backside. How strange. But it's looking really good too. Got a big bunch of crystal in here, right there. Not too much is broken off of that, so that's good. I think sometimes the tumbling media kind of helps. It helps the rocks not just beat the absolute crap out of each other. Which, on a rock like this is good, because it means more of this stuff will actually stay attached to it. And then this one again. And that crystal band around the middle is starting to almost want to meet right in here. It seems like it's closer together than it was before. And I mentioned this one before too. You can see these white speckles. Those are actually inside the rock, which is pretty neat. And last but certainly not least is this little pink guy. That's looking really nice as well. It looks just like a strawberry starburst. Doesn't look like it lost too much mass, really, if any at all, from the last stage. So that's pretty promising. Hopefully it'll stay the same size. And that'll do it for these this week. We'll get them put back into their barrels and off for the final stage. We'll come back next week and check. And we're back to check out our latest batch after stage 5 and see what the finished product looks like. And so far from what I've seen, especially now that they're all dried off, they all still look wet, which is perfect. That's exactly what we want. And I am really stoked with what I'm seeing. Maybe we'll start with some of these big ones over here. This one has turned out really, really nicely. And it's even got some of the polish in this hole down in here. The stages before this, it didn't seem like it had been receiving much polish. But now you can really see, you know, it's not perfectly smooth in here, but it's gotten in there quite a bit. All the way around. Haven't lost any big chunks. And honestly, after this stage, I didn't find any broken off pieces in the ceramic tumbling media after I washed everything off either. So I'm pretty happy about that. That's always a good sign. But so far, this one's looking really good. A couple more here. Our little crystal cave is looking good. It looks like there's grit around the edge and in this crack here, but that's not it. It's actually just, you know, crystal that's kind of showing up after it's all been polished. But there's some nice fortification lines going around that are really popping out. This big chunk on the end decided it wanted to hang out and stay, so that's good. Same thing with this one here. See a little bit of the iron coloring, especially in the cracks. On the edge here, there's a little bit too. It's looking really good. This one's got another big crack running right through the middle of it. And all these dimples. Definitely didn't take a polish, but everything around them did, so those are looking really good too. Got some iron coloring around here. And over here as well, popping off real nice. Looking really good. A couple more. Here's our bird footprint agate. It's looking really nice, and those, I don't know if the polish did get into those little epimorphs or not, because they're, you know, they're straight. They're not jagged like a lot of the other dimples that you see on some of these other ones, especially like the last one we just showed. But it looked like it got in there pretty decently and polished it up really nicely. And again, these chunks that look like they really wanted to break off have stayed on, so that's good. That means that they're getting a good tumbling action and they're not getting stuck to where they're just beating each other up. And I don't know, this one's, now that it's polished, I'm seeing some really cool stuff in there. It might be nice to slice a chunk off of this. That one turned out great. This one is kind of a pleasant surprise for sure, because in the Crystal Cove in there too. I didn't have very high hopes for this one at all. It was kind of just like a filler rock. And man, it turned out super cool. Really neat patterns in there around this crystal. Just a really cool, almost like a jade green color. That one turned out really well as well. Here's one of our saw rocks. This is kind of just an experimental thing, just to see how this stuff would even polish up. Honestly, I didn't have very high hopes for it, even after the last stage. But as you can see, it really turned out great. Another very nice, pleasant surprise. Super happy with that. You can't hardly even tell that it was cut now too, which is, I just love that. You know, these edges just get rounded off so nicely with all that grit. That looks really good. Here's some jasper chunks. Got 5 of them in this batch. They're looking really good too. I've said it before, sometimes this stuff polishes up really nicely, and other times it doesn't so much. But these ones all have a really nice, even, glossy polish all the way around. Even this one with all this kind of speckly stuff in here is got that really nice, smooth, glossy polish. I'm really happy with how these ones turned out as well. That'll be the theme for this batch. Everything's looking really, really good. Here's a couple more we've been keeping an eye on. Our little egg with the Cadbury cream filling in the middle. Still got all the iron speckling in there, and you know, you can see the light shining off of it from the ceiling. Just beautiful. Even my hand reflection. Beautiful polish all the way around. We didn't lose much of this crystal either, so happy with that one. Same thing with this one. Got a bunch of crystal right here in the middle. It's perfectly polished. You can't really feel any sort of difference at all rubbing your finger on it, other than just little gaps in the actual rock itself. And on the side here, we didn't lose any more of the top scaling. I don't even know what you would call it. Well, maybe we did. Maybe we did lose a chunk right down here. A little hole right there too, but that's really strange. I've never seen that before. But it turned out really, really nicely as well. Another one here. I don't know if we've really put much of a spotlight on this one, but it's got this big patch right here, and I don't know how well you can see that, but if you can see the light reflecting on that, part of the patch got polished up really nicely, and then part of it's gotten really dull. It didn't take much of a polish, so it's actually recessed just below the surface of the, you know, the agate part that's actually taken a shine. So I don't know if that had anything to do with it or not, but this part right here is at the same level. That's really interesting. And other than that, this one looks really good all the way around. Here's another one of these that we've been looking at quite a bit, and it's got this big crack running through it. It actually seemed to have gotten, I don't know about bigger, but definitely deeper.
All this crystal on this side. Thankfully we haven't lost much of that. And that crack comes around and goes right through here, and you can see it right in through there as well. So this would be one that we got to be really careful with, because if you dropped it, it would most definitely break. But it held on and turned out really nicely too. Here's this one with the banding that goes almost all the way around. There's just a little chunk from right here to right here where it doesn't quite reach. And all that stuff that's underneath the surface of the rock really popping out. And this crack goes almost all the way around this entire rock. Thankfully it held together. It turned out really nice too. We'll take a look at a couple of these smaller ones. I think we highlighted this one in a few steps back, a few segments back, but it's got, I don't think I'd call this a moss agate. I mean, there's a little bit on the inside, but most of this green stuff is on the outside. It all got polished smooth, at least. Obviously, it doesn't have that glossy shine on it. But everything is nice and smooth. It's got interesting patterns. This one's actually pretty cool. Here's another kind of carnelian looking one. Got a lot of orange and reds, a lot of iron coloring in it. It's turned out really well as well. Another smaller one with a lot of different stuff and colors and things going on. A lot of cracks that have healed and morphed together. Nice even polish all the way around. It's always nice when you get, you know, a rock this size and a rock this size, and this one doesn't get completely obliterated. It's how you know you have a good ratio of sizes in each barrel. But it's looking pretty good. And last but not least, our little pink guy. And as I expected, it turned out super awesome. Coloring is great. Polish is great. Looks really, really good. Hasn't lost much mass the past 2 or 3 stages, so it turned out really good. And that would almost be ready to be a little necklace on its own. You wouldn't even have to do much to it. But that's it for this batch. Stay tuned for the next one. We got a few coming up that are probably going to end up being pretty neat, so stay tuned and check it out.